Hi everyone, welcome to the English language version of 3 Guidelines for Efficient Vocabulary Acquisition. If you haven't watched the original Japanese version yet, go ahead and check that one out first. I'm going to try to make this video as close to the Japanese original as I can. Also, if you still think it's a little too fast, then please adjust the speed settings. Here we go. People study English for lots of different reasons, but one thing that they all have in common is that they all have to learn a lot of vocabulary. How about you? How is your vocabulary studying going? Having a hard time? In order to make your vocabulary studying go a bit more smoothly, today I'm going to introduce 3 guidelines that will help increase the efficiency of your vocabulary acquisition. Guideline 1, a little at a time. When I was still working at cram schools and college prep schools, I often came across students trying to study a lot of vocabulary at the same time. And to be frank, this is a terrible way to study vocabulary. What? I can't study a lot of vocabulary? No, that's not the issue. The issue is trying to study a lot of vocabulary, too much vocabulary, at one time. Lots of people think doing this is some kind of shortcut, but it's really not. When you have something big you want to accomplish, rather than trying to achieve everything at once, it's far better to break your goal down into smaller pieces and attack them each separately. And vocabulary learning is very similar, if not the same. You have a large goal, you need to break it down. For example, let's say you have a list of 100 words that you need to learn, and you need to learn them in 1 week. What are you going to do? What should you do? Some people might read the list over and over again and get their hands involved and try to memorize the words by writing them a few times. Such methods aren't terrible in and of themselves, as seeing the words over and over again is necessary, and getting other parts of your body involved in the memorization process helps out as well. But the issue isn't really in the methods. It's in how many words you're trying to memorize at one time. You can only memorize so much at one time, so it's far better to break up your goal into smaller chunks and attack them each separately. We have 100 words, so let's break it up like this. Let's break it up into 5 groups. So we have 5 groups of 20 words each. And that's a little at a time, right? No. We need to go further. We'll take one of those groups of 20 words and we'll break it down into 4 groups of 5 words each. The next step is to go through and study each group of 5 words, group by group, including reviewing and quizzing yourself. To learn all of the groups, all 20 words, it should only take about 20 minutes or less. Once you think you've got all the words down, be sure to quiz yourself on all 20 words. And once you're finished with that, that's it for the first day's work. The next day, after reviewing the words from the previous day, grab the next set of 20 cards and be sure to use the same procedure to learn those words. Follow this pattern each day for 5 days, and at the end of 5 days, you'll have learned 100 words and still have 2 days left over in your week. Use this time to review and further cement the words in your memory. And that's it. If you follow this guideline and really just do a little bit at a time, you'll find that you can learn a lot of vocabulary in a very efficient manner. Guideline 2, variety. The second guideline, variety, is about not learning words that are similar at the same time. In my experience as a teacher, many students tend to try and study words that are very similar to each other at the same time. But when you learn words that are similar to one another at the same time, it becomes very difficult to distinguish one word from another. But what exactly makes one word similar to another word? Well, if 2 or more words match any of the following criteria, they can be said to be similar to one another. 1. They have similar meanings. 2. They have a similar shape. 3. They have similar pronunciation. First, let's talk about words that have similar meanings. For 2 or more words that have a similar meaning, it doesn't only mean that they have similar definitions. What you really have to worry about are sets. Sets are groups of words that have a great many things in common and only slight differences between them. One easy to understand example would be the days of the week. When you really think about the days of the week, there's not that much difference between each one. The only difference between them is that they show how much time has passed since the beginning of the week. Essentially, they all have the same meaning, a day of the week. close to the days of the week are numbers. But days of the week and numbers are words that we use on a regular basis, so you can learn to distinguish them pretty quickly. But what about groups that we don't use that often? Like vegetables, for instance. I'm going to read a list of vegetables. So listen and watch carefully.
Cauliflower, beet, radish, collard greens, lettuce, cabbage, ginger, chicory, Brussels sprouts, bok choy, celery, spinach, kale, watercress, garlic, leek, lemongrass, lotus root, onion, shallot, horseradish, turnip, chives, cucumber, bell pepper, sweet pepper, squash, eggplant.
Another thing you need to be wary of when you learn a word is not only learning that word, but also its synonyms and antonyms together with it. Learning these things together will definitely cause confusion later on. I'm anticipating that some people are going to go against what I just said, but it's backed up by research, so I'm not worried. Next, words with similar shapes. And really by shape, I mean spelling. You need to be especially careful with vocabulary lists that are in alphabetical order. As an example, take a look at the next few words.
Academic, accept, access, accident, accommodation, accompany, according, account, accurate, accuse.
Could you keep these words straight in your head? Not only is it a pain to keep track of these words, but it's also a little boring, right? Next, words with similar pronunciation. Now, this category actually overlaps quite a bit with the previous category of shape. And of course, you should avoid learning words like dear and dear, there and there, together at the same time. But words that not only have the same overall pronunciation, but maybe just the beginning of the word sounds the same, or the ending of the word sounds the same. Avoid learning such words together as well. Guideline 3. Kiss. Keep it simple. Actually, this is usually spelled K-I-S-S, a long kiss. It means, keep it simple, stupid. But I'm a nice guy, so I'm not going to call anybody stupid. So you just get a short kiss. Just like you all are studying English vocabulary, I, in the course of my Japanese study, have had to and am still studying a lot of Japanese vocabulary. When I was in my last year of college in America, I decided I wanted to increase my Japanese vocabulary. So I searched online and found a Japanese dictionary made for kids and started making vocabulary flashcards. Unfortunately though, my studying didn't exactly go as planned. This was partly due to the fact that I was studying Japanese in Japanese, but also because for each word I looked up in the Japanese dictionary, I wrote not just a simple, brief explanation, I wrote a long, dense paragraph of explanation. I was looking up one word, but writing every definition, every possible definition. And not only that, for each definition I would put on the flashcard, I ended up adding an example sentence as well. This was a very complex way to study vocabulary. Keep it simple. While that period of study was pretty fun, actually, and in some ways effective, the pace at which I was actually learning vocabulary was incredibly slow, and overall the process was sometimes pretty painful. Little by little, I stopped studying the cards, and eventually I gave up altogether. The main problem was that in order to learn one word, just one word, I was putting a lot of information into my head. So when you all make vocabulary cards, try as much as is possible to stick to a 1-to-1 ratio of vocabulary word to information about that vocabulary word. For one English word, one simple Japanese explanation should be enough. However, there might be times when including a preposition that's often used with that word or a common collocation will be beneficial. But the point is, as much as is possible, create an environment where it is difficult to quit. So that's it. Those are 3 guidelines that will definitely help increase the efficiency of your vocabulary learning. Again, if you haven't watched the original Japanese video, go ahead and check that out. And thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.